Now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews, exclusively here as always on the Casa D18 Studios channel. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade JJ Williams, and we're starting to wind down Musicals Month here on the channel. Today, we're going to take a look at the 80s classic Little Shop of Horrors, starring Rick Moranis, Ellen Greene, Vincent Gardenia, Steve Martin, Levi Stubbs, Tashina Arnold, Tisha Campbell, and Michelle Weeks. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for joining me here once again for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. As I said in the introduction, we're slowly starting to wind down Musicals Month here on the Casa D18 Studios channel. And today we're going to be taking a look at the 80s classic Little Shop of Horrors. And our movie takes place in the early 1960s as a three-girl Greek chorus, Crystal, Ronette, and Chiffon, introduced the film and warned the audience that some horror is coming their way. We meet Seymour Krelborn and his colleague, Audrey, who work at Mushnick's flower shop in a rough and run-down neighborhood in New York City that is commonly referred to as Skid Row, and they lament the fact that they can't escape the neighborhood. Struggling from a lack of customers, Mr. Mushnick decides to close the store, but Audrey suggests that they may have more success by displaying an unusual plant that Seymour owns, which immediately attracts a customer. Seymour then explains that he bought the plant, which he named Audrey 2, from a Chinese flower shop during a solar eclipse. The plant brings immediate success to Mushnick's shop, but it soon starts to wither. When Seymour accidentally pricks his finger, he discovers that Audrey 2 needs human blood in order to thrive. Audrey 2 begins to grow rapidly as Seymour becomes a local celebrity. Meanwhile, Audrey suffers at the hands of her boyfriend, Oren Scrivello. However, she also has feelings for Seymour and secretly dreams of running off with him to the suburbs. Seymour continues to feed Audrey 2 his own blood, which begins to drain him of his energy. Seymour soon attempts to ask Audrey out, but she turns him down because she has a date with Oren that evening, who is revealed to be a dentist. After Seymour closes up shop, Audrey 2 begins to talk to Seymour, demanding more blood than Seymour can humanly give. The plan proposes that Seymour murder someone in exchange for fame and fortune, as well as the ability to woo Audrey. Seymour initially refuses, but eventually agrees after witnessing Oren abusing Audrey. After Oren finishes with his masochist patient, Arthur Denton, who had requested a long, slow root canal, Seymour draws a gun on Oren, but he cannot bring himself to use it. Now Oren, who abuses nitrous oxide, puts on a type of Venturi mask in order to receive a constant flow of the gas, but the valve breaks and Seymour watches as he asphyxiates. Seymour then dismembers Oren's body and feeds it to Audrey 2, who has grown enormous in size. Mushnick witnesses the feeding and flees in fear. Audrey, feeling guilty over Oren's disappearance, is comforted by Seymour, and the two finally admit their feelings for each other. That night, Mushnick confronts Seymour about Oren's death and holds Seymour at gunpoint, blackmailing him into turning the plant over and leaving town. With no choice, Seymour begins to tell him how to care for Audrey 2, but before he can reveal the secret, the plant swallows Mushnik whole. Despite the widespread success, Seymour worries about Audrey 2's growth and unbridled appetite. When offered money and a contract for a botany TV show, Seymour becomes overwhelmed and decides to escape Skid Row with Audrey by using the money that is coming the next day, and in turn, leaving the plant to starve. After Audrey accepts Seymour's marriage proposal, Audrey too catches Seymour leaving and demands another meal. Seymour agrees, but this time he insists on meat from the butcher. While Seymour is gone, the plant telephones Audrey, coaxes her into the shop, and then tries to eat her. Seymour returns just in time to save Audrey and then escapes the store with her. When Seymour explains that he fed the plant to become successful and win Audrey's heart, Seymour discovers that she has always loved him. When approached by an executive named Patrick Martin from a botanical company, Seymour is offered a contract to breed Audrey 2 and then sell the saplings worldwide. Horrified by the idea, Seymour drives Martin away and realizes that he must destroy Audrey 2 for the sake of humanity. Returning to the shop, Seymour learns that Audrey 2 is actually an alien from outer space. Audrey 2 then traps Seymour and destroys the shop. Seymour grabs an exposed electrical cable in the rubble and is able to electrocute Audrey 2, resulting in an explosion. Leaving the destroyed shop, Seymour safely reunites with Audrey. The two wed and then move to the suburbs. As they arrive at their new home, a smiling Audrey 2 bud can be seen among the flowers in their front yard as our movie comes to its end. This movie I enjoy and have fun with for a number of different reasons. Number one, it's directed by Frank Oz. Now, some of you may not know the name Frank Oz just by name, but if you're familiar with the Muppets and the characters within the Muppet family, Frank Oz is the original performer and voice for, amongst others, Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, Animal, Cookie Monster, Bert, and Yoda, and Grover. Those 7 characters, along with a ton of others, are just a few of the characters from our childhood and just growing up over the years that we know Frank Oz from. So he directed this movie. So there's number one. Number two, it's the first time, I can't even tell you how many times they've worked together, probably at least 3, 4, 5. But it's the first time that we had the pairing of Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. They worked together in Parenthood. They worked together in My Blue Heaven. They worked together a number of times. But this was the initial. It's also Tashina Arnold and Tisha Campbell, who would go on to be Pam and Gina, respectively, on Martin, both in this as part of the 3-girl Greek chorus. So you got that. Then you just got the story, you've got the silliness, you've got the songs, all just rolled in there. You got cameos from John Candy, you've got cameos from Bill Murray. Going back to the Frank Oz thing, you've got a cameo from a young Heather Henson, Jim's youngest daughter, in the movie as one of the patients for Orrin, the dentist. There's just so many little loose ends that kind of tie together in this as far as things that I loved growing up. Now, you may remember when I did my 31 Days of Horror back in 2021, I actually did the original Little Shop of Horrors. And I'll go ahead and I'll link that up here if you missed it. But going back and doing the musical of this after watching the original, so similar in so many ways and so different in so many ways. Jack Nicholson's character in the original is basically Bill Murray's character in this. You know, it's the same type of vibe, same crazy sadistic patient. It's so good. Again, I haven't seen Little Shop, this version, a whole lot. I saw it a few times when I was younger, probably the late 80s, early 90s, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. So getting to go back and like revisit this was so cool, so refreshing. It was like seeing an old friend again after so many years. I think the last time I watched this movie, like I said, it had to have been the early to mid 90s. It was probably right around the time Martin came out, and I discovered that Gina and Pam were in this. And so I went back and watched it, and I saw them as 2/3 of the Greek chorus. But I haven't seen it since then, and you figure Martin was a 90s success. So it's easily been close to 30 years since I've seen this movie. That in itself is a tragedy of Greek proportions. But it was so cool again to go back and revisit this. When it comes to my rating for Little Shop, much like Rock of Ages yesterday, I give it 4 out of 5 stars. It's so good, it's so fresh, even though it's a remake, it's as good as, if not better than, the original. Steve Martin, Rick Moranis, the entire cast is so good in their roles, so perfectly cast. Rick Moranis was born for Seymour. And because of his success as Seymour here, he got all the other movies that he got, specifically Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which really took him to superstardom. He had done Ghostbusters before, which is why Bill Murray is in this, kind of like a little give back there. But his character in Ghostbusters was minor, wasn't a major part of the movie. He had some success with that, took that character, basically dropped him into Little Shop, blew up, went from Little Shop to Honey, I Shrunk with Disney, and Rick Moranis, in the words of Cameron Grimes, went to the moon. 4 out of 5 stars for me. Little Shop of Horrors. What do you guys think? Let me know. If you're watching the premiere, leave your thoughts and comments over here. If you're watching on demand later in the day, leave your thoughts and comments down here. Let's have that conversation, that debate, that discussion, that interaction that I'm always asking you guys for in the comments below. And make sure you guys tune in on Friday, right here to the Casa D18 Studios channel for another brand new installment of Renegades Reviews. And we're going to wrap up this week of musicals. We're going to take a look at Baz Luhrmann's Moulin Rouge, starring Ewan McGregor, Nicole Kidman, Jim Broadbent, Richard Rockberg, John Leguizamo, Kylie Minogue, and featuring the voice of Ozzy Osbourne. You're not going to want to miss out on that. Right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel on Renegades Reviews, Moulin Rouge. So make sure you smash that like button. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure that notification bell is turned on so you don't miss out anytime a video drops right here on the Casa D18 Studios channel or anytime we go live, as is the case with Stat Boy Sports Bar, Open Mic Night, pay-per-view PLE coverage, etc. Share these videos with your family, friends, loved ones, coworkers, movie fanatics, cinephiles in your life. Fans of Frank Oz, fans of Little Shop of Horrors, fans of Rick Moranis, fans of Steve Martin, fans of John Candy, Bill Murray, anybody you can think of that would enjoy this content in this video, share it with them. It's the only way we're going to boost up my visibility in YouTube's algorithms so I can eventually get monetized and make some money off of my hard work here on the channel. Thank you once again. Everyone who joined me and tuned in today means more to me than you'll ever know. And I will see you guys next time.